Recording.
All right. So we had Vicky, Joyce, Bob, and Angie, and they were all very interesting people. They had a lot to say. What did we talk about? We talked about
Architecture.
Architecture.
Yeah, as well as just like a little bit of local history. They knew about Mary Meyer and that history, but they weren't too aware of anything else about Thurston Woods.
Yeah, they weren't from the neighborhood.
Right.
But, I mean, seems like they all came to Milwaukee in their 20s, and they all came for jobs or education. I think, what was it?
Joyce came, she became a nurse. She came here for nursing school. She was in her 20s. She comes from a bigger family. Never got married, but has a ton of nieces and nephews. So
yeah, Joyce and Angie worked at St. Michael's Hospital. Joyce was a nurse and Angie worked in the cafeteria.
Vicky was a secretary, and she's also worked for Kohl's food store. It closed down, and she never reapplied or got another job. She just retired.
Yeah.
So.
And Bob is the master of getting baseball tickets for free.
Oh, really?
So he's been to 5 games for free. So. Yeah.
And he really liked the cake.
He loved the cake.
And he had 2 pieces of cake, and then he took one with him in the cup.
You're not supposed to do that.
It sounds like you guys all got very enthusiastic people. The first person I sat down with was Belinda, and
Yes.
So I asked her what her name was, and she said, I thought she said Ruth at first. I really couldn't hear her, and it was really, I think that not even being able to understand her made that wall even more thick. And then I asked, she said she'd lived here for 13 years, and she comes to meal programs a lot. She lives in Berryland, but she just got progressively distant. And then the next people I talked to, I didn't get their names, but there was this young redheaded guy, and I asked him about himself, but he was more interested in my ring. And he wouldn't. He said that he hates his job and he didn't want to talk about it. There were when I asked him questions about himself, he didn't want to answer. He just turned the questions back to me.
Where do you work? Was he from Thurston Woods?
Yeah, he lives in Berryland, and he wouldn't tell me where he worked. He wouldn't tell me what he does. But we started talking about how people aren't born at the same level. The playing field is never level. And
like mental.
So social inequality.
Yeah.
Talking about.
Oh, they meant like
That's interesting.
like mental or handicaps.
Sort of a class consciousness.
He said he never wants kids. His sister has a kid, but the kid's 20 years old, and life hasn't gotten her down yet, but he said it in the way like life hasn't hit her yet. Anyway, it was hard to get specific with him. He just kept dodging.
Yeah. Our group of people really wanted to know more about us than even just as much as we wanted to know about them. So yeah, they were very curious as to.
Well, they were very interested in your background.
Yeah.
Vicky seemed to be really aware of what's going on in the world around her, and just in the larger Milwaukee area. She was talking to me about Indian food, and she was talking about a local cookbook author that I happen to know.
Yeah.
Was talking about how it's hard to get really authentic Indian food, and
That's great for her to say that.
Cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I think
she must keep up with like newspapers
Right,
or internet.
yeah.
She must be internet savvy, maybe.
And Trader Joe's is her favorite grocery store.
Oh, okay.
It was interesting that she made the drive to Trader Joe's instead of the
And
local.
she's in her 80s, or if you were to guess.
I think so. Not quite 80, I think. Maybe she's probably 75.
I think
She was
Bob
pretty-
was 82,
Okay.
and I asked them how they got around, and they said that they all still drove.
yeah, all
So
of them
they're all in
drove
their upper
separately.
70s or 80s, and they all still drive themselves around. So
Mm-hmm.
And they're very well traveled people too.
Yeah.
They've been to Europe, you know, Hawaii, you name it, they've been to it. It seems like it.
Yeah.
And also they were very aware of, they were telling us a little bit, or I guess educating us a little bit, maybe more so me than Niles, but about migration history in Milwaukee and, you know,
Oh wow.
how, you know, blacks defended, I guess, a territory, or I'm not sure.
Well, they were talking. They talked about how blacks were trying to move to the South Side in the '60s, and that the Polish people kind of defended the South Side. But now the South Side is mostly Hispanic, so they were kind of taking note of the transition of the neighborhoods.
Yeah, but they weren't like resentful in any way. They were just, you know, they were, if anything, they were happy. They were, yeah, they were great.
Vicky was also talking about Hmong children in the area and how her sister really welcomed the Hmong children in the area and had tea parties for the kids and stuff like that. So she was telling me how polite and clean and well raised they were, and
so they seemed really open to you guys. Did they indicate that they wanted to keep talking to you, or that they would be open?
They want to come back on Saturday for our event. I let them know when that was going to be, but yeah, they seem like, you know, they have they come here for the food. You know, they have that set up. So, you know, they were kind of in a rush, and you know, I feel like right when we're about to maybe, you know, try to settle for some sort of recording, and they started putting away the chairs. It got really noisy.
They had to go. Yeah.
But
it seemed like Joyce was trying to think pretty hard of interesting things to say to us. Yeah.
She's like, I want to talk about something interesting.
I really want to tell you guys something interesting.
I was like, no, you're interesting.
Everything we've been talking about is very interesting.
She gave me a list of churches to visit that she says will change my life. So I need to.
And they were very excited about Holy Hill.
They loved Holy Hill.
Yeah.
And the Joan of Arc Chapel, which I'm very curious about now.
Oh, there is a Joan of Arc chapel?
Yeah, it's behind the Jesu on Marquette. So, yeah, it'll be nice to check those out. Any final thoughts on our...
Could you maybe describe the event a little bit and how the interactions went? You focused a lot on what they said, but how was it as an experience, and what's your observations for somebody listening to this later about what the setting was like and how different it was from what you expected, or was it what you expected, and so on?
I would say it was very organized.
So,
you know?
So this is a Tuesday meal program, and it began with a big whistle blow, kind of like recess begins with a big whistle blow, and then they started passing the bowls around, and
then we did a prayer.
They had the prayer first, and then the bowls.
It actually felt more regimented.
Yeah, it was very regimented. Like,
they knew it by heart.
You get the food, you eat your food, and then once it seems like everyone's done eating their food, they start taking the chairs away.
Yeah, it's very.
And then everyone gets the cues that, like, all right, everybody's got get the hell out of here. Like, the food's gone, just go.
But it was great because in our table, Joyce, she knew. I don't know what sort of pattern we were doing with the plate, but then it somehow skipped her, and then it went to me, and then it went. You know, she's like, "Oh, okay, it's gonna skip me, and then it's gonna go to him." So she knew, like, she clearly, you know, done this, and they say they come here very often. So
yeah, it was very easy to talk to them. I mean, we just sat down and, you know, started talking to them. I mean, it wasn't, you know, they weren't. You know, they asked us what we were doing, what we were involved with.
Very curious.
You know, they saw you guys with the T-shirts on. They're like, "Who are those people? Like, are they with you?" And they're like, "Yeah." It's the same thing. Yeah.
I think having the T-shirts probably help a lot because they don't know why you're here. It's like,
I don't know.
No? Or is it intimidating?
I feel like it can be a little bit intimidating.
Yeah.
But I guess it depends.
Makes it like official.
Yeah.
It also kind of establishes us and them.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's true.
Could be good, could be bad. It seemed, I don't know, my impression was that it established.
Well, since I didn't have a shirt, it seemed like they couldn't figure out where
to place you.
Yeah. So it's like, so are you with them? I said, yeah.
But yeah, also a very diverse crowd. You know, there's lots of children, lots of, you know, middle-aged individuals, and lots of elderly. You know, different racial backgrounds as well.
The redheaded guy I was talking to, he did say that it was a great thing in the community that they have these meal programs, and he was talking about the economy. So
Yeah.
for him, it started to seem like this community center is the or is the heart of Maryland for him. But
I don't know, it seems like the impact of this extends beyond just Thurston Woods or just Maryland, because I mean, I think the people we talk to, they live further out, or
Right,
you know,
they come here for
they
this.
come here from, you know, outside the community. So the community is much larger than just the neighborhood.
I was talking to the woman Dora with big orange hair and like 3 rings on every finger. She had her napkin tucked in.
Yeah.
And she's from West Lawn, which I think it's a few neighborhoods southwest of here. And she said she comes here regularly. And this is the only thing she does in Thurston Woods.
Great.
And your guess would be why she comes regularly? I mean, just for the free dinner, or to be part of this community, or is there a kind of fellowship around the dinner that you sense?
She brought a lot of people with her, and she also filled up a bunch of cups with cake and garlic bread to take back. One of the younger girls she was with had about 8 cups of extra food when they left.
So they're coming for the food.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I wonder how many other, you know, free dinners there are in the area, you know, for people.
Our group mentioned a few, but I don't recall.
I don't recall.
Also, West Lawn is run by Milwaukee Housing Authority.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, maybe in that neighborhood they're pointed towards the Agape Center.
It's possible.
So there are maybe 8 housing authority areas around Milwaukee. Maybe they're kind of networked as places.
Mm-hmm. And that one's close enough that they can come here easily.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see if the bingo night brings the same people.
Yeah, the other night there were only about 9 people here, and I recognized a couple, but they're all...
Yeah, Angie said that she comes here for bingo.
Oh, okay.
Like, I think it's every weekday, and then she takes the weekend off. She doesn't do bingo on the weekend, only during the weeks. That's like her job or something.
They have bingo on the weekends?
No, I don't think they do, but that's like...
Is the bingo for prizes? Is there money?
Yeah, they had household items like drain cleaner and
Toilet paper, cereal.
Yeah. Snack like Chex Mix.
So like useful household things.
Mm-hmm.
Or things that aren't necessarily covered under food stamps, like
Yeah.
cleaning products.
Yeah,
and
cleaning products.
things that you can buy with food stamps.
Mhm.
There is an issue though with people taking food out. The staff had a problem with
Oh, really?
the person you saw
Yeah, they-
carrying food out.
Yeah.
She said, we're not allowed to let them take food out. So you can only come here and eat here and can't take it.
Yeah, they don't want people taking the food out. But I think that's why Bob had his piece of cake in the cup, so that he could sneak it out.
But this lady had 10 cups.
But that lady had
Yeah, she might have distributed
Oh,
it between friends.
Not as sly.
bring a big purse.
Cool.
Bob was talking about going to Potawatomi for gambling,
Mm-hmm.
and he also told me about retiring from the IRS. He used to work for the IRS.
Oh,
Oh, wow. I met a man who taught swimming at the YMCA for 30 years.
Oh, really?
He had a lot of health problems. He has a lot of health problems. And he's thinking about putting himself in a retirement home. There were a lot of hard questions. He brought up a lot of hard subjects that I just didn't know how to approach with the heart condition and the
Oh,
going into-
really? Wow.
He talked about a son with schizophrenia.
Mm.
That's tough.
So, I don't know.
It's definitely hard to get a conversation going with some people.
Yeah.
And some people they're so ready to share.
I think though sometimes those hard subjects they need to talk about it, and so it's important to find a way to operate with those hard subjects. And instead of, I started to talk to him about swimming instead, something I felt more at ease with.
I think they were just the logistical issues of in that room. It was very difficult to hear even the person sitting next to you or across the table.
Yeah.
It's a very loud, echoey room, and they have those fans going. The fans make a lot of noise, and they have everyone in there talking, and it's echoing, and it's just. I mean, it's because the ceiling is so high, and it's like made out of like concrete brick, so the sound is bouncing everywhere.
I asked him if he'd miss his neighborhood, and I couldn't hear the answer. So,
We'll never know.
I think maybe with the hard questions, even just being listening, just being a good listener is probably
you're
a
right.
good way to approach it. You know?
Yeah.
Because that's why they barely know us, and then if they're telling us about their life problems, that means they needed to share it.
You're right.
Maybe just listening.
As a couple of you said earlier, more than I think you expected or that we expected, you were really guests at their community event. And as such, it's not surprising that you couldn't control the agenda and set up the interviews, and it's enough to be a good guest and make the contact. And you know, maybe they didn't answer direct questions, but you were there. They didn't all freeze you out, and they become more comfortable with the fact that you're here and you're in the neighborhood and you're interested in them and you have conversations and all of that. My hunch is word of that will spread through networks, not necessarily in great detail, but in some way. So I think it accomplished a great deal in that sense. And probably you'll be able to have follow-up conversations that you could record.
Hopefully.
Next time they see us, they'll be a little more open.
Okay. Well, I guess that's it.